The one and the only, the triple, the G.O.D, live on Team GRF TV. I'd like to welcome you guys back to another installment of Triple the Guy Speaks on. And yo, Lupinranger versus Patranger, number 2, International Police, chase after them, or how overtime sat up here and translate into a little less of a mouthful, the global police in pursuit. Thank you, overtime, for, condensing that down, because I'm like, I read, cause when I got to the wiki, to review the episode, which is part of my process, is why is the episode title so long? I get it, but they're not even called the International Police. They're called, the global something. You know what? I want to know what it's called, because, see, you would think that I would know or remember this information, but I don't know. So we gonna quickly, before we get into the mix, and we got a lot to do. I want to know, what is it called? I know it's something to. Let's see. We still clicking around. The Global Special Police Organization, Japan branch. That's a lot. That is a whole lot. A whole lot. Regardless. Episode 2. Yo. See, I had questions last week. I don't have questions now. I have different questions. And that's what you want, because it's we gotta remember, this is something that's never been done before. There is a lot going on to, trying to understand, figure out, and get used to, and absorb the dynamic of this versus thing. And this episode did a wonderful job of really getting over, at least to me, the viewer, of understanding what it is they're trying to do and why they're trying to do it. Because, see, again, let me just remind you, because, again, I think I need to run through this one more time just for my own headspace, right? We got thieves, we got the popo, and we got international thieves who like the police, and these other thieves, right? So that is our little magical triforce of what this show is. You got the Lupinranger squad, you got the police, and you got the gonglers, right? And it's that opening fight, you know what I'm saying? Because it just popped off, cause the episode ended with the Patranger sitting up here busting shots in the air. We transformed into a Sentai. Let's dump. And they just spent 3 minutes dumping at each other, and I'm just yes. Normally I would be kind of sort of against this in the instance of, well, you guys could be doing something better. But no, I'm with this because this is technically a 3-team shootout with, you got the one gongler who sits up here and ultimately uses his distraction between the thieves and the police to ultimately get away to take an L later, because, that's just what's going to happen. And them just shoot at each other. I will say this. I don't know about anybody else, because I know if I go watch somebody else, I know people got complaints. I don't have complaints of entering the Matrix, doing all these crazy camera shots, dumping all day. If they want to call this the Carter Grayson Sentai, we dumping shots at niggas, do it. Because this shows us off the chain. All they do all episode is just dump at each other. And I'm if you really think about it in the way of how to the leader to the show, I call it Cowboys versus Indians. Have you ever watched a Western before? It's kind of like that, but with Sentai teams and laser beams. So I'm yes, please do that. I also, I say, I see where this show is going. Is that it's not going to be too long. Well, actually, let me say this. It's not going to be too long until we get the episode where they got to work together. It's going to be a very long time and a whole bunch of twists and turns because of what the show is before we ultimately get to understanding about why does a team have this and why the other team have that, and how they ultimately come together under the name or saying Lupin the Third, or whatever the case may be. Because, see, my thought process in thinking about it, because I've had a whole week to think about it, is this. Why would Arsène Lupin, master thief, have 2 sets of Sentai changes for the police and thieves when you a thief and you spent your whole existence running from the po-po? The show gonna have to make sense out of that. And I really believe that even 2 episodes in, that the show will ultimately make sense of this. because it has to. Because what this is this really, really weird, slow clashing of the same ideals depending on which way you want to tilt your head. Because the thing, my favorite part of this episode was the one question that I want answered. What's up with the Lupinranger squad? And we got it. We got exactly what it was we were looking for in that. It's like, for real, I'm like, I kind of saw that coming, but I didn't think that the show would give it us this soon. Because, like, yo, Kyrie lost his brother. Tuma, he lost his girlfriend. And Umika lost her best friend. And in that, they want to gather the Lupin collection and put it all together like the 7 Dragon Balls, but there's a whole bunch of these things, and it'll grant their wish to bring back the dead. Ultimately, these two teams will unite under that same banner. You want to know why? The Patrangers are ultimately going to lose people. Because, see, you gonna need to get hot-blooded cop guy, mellow cop guy, and girl who will be smacking people in the face on the same emotional wavelength. Because I understand they're the police. But at some point for them, if this story is going to work, they've got to get personal with this. You've got to get personal with this. And for the Patrangers, it's going to have to get personal at some point. It's like, I don't know how, but given how Kiichiro was like telling the people, I'm saluting. Hey, I'm going to get your jewels back. I'm sorry that this random monster from another universe burned down your house or whatever, but I'm going to get him. It is in that later in the episode, in that fight, where Kyrie like, man, yo, let's bounce. Why? Don't worry about it, man. Just let it play out. Because ultimately, it's going to be Kyrie and Kiichiro who are going to unite the teams, because we hit, pimp. We hit. It's going to be a long while before the show gets to that point. But the show is telegraphing it already. The show is telegraphing that that's what they want to do. And if really this is really going to work to a Sentai, that has to be one of the show's ultimate goals, to get these two teams on the same side. Because there's going to be something worse. Because honestly, the Gongla a threat. No duh. Give me that. The Gongla's a threat. There's going to be a threat. A threat probably way bigger than Dogranio once they sit up here and work their way through Gongla. That's going to make them unite together. Because I don't think, but even though the show going to prove me wrong, that I know Dogranio's a beast. And I probably shouldn't be sitting up here on a review sleeping on him. That probably wouldn't be there. I'm not sleeping on that boy Destra, because he gonna murder fools. He gonna murder fools straight up. And Goche, yeah, she cute. You know what I'm saying? Like, she said up here, rub that thing like, yo, make my monster grow like Rita Repulsa. Yeah, you know, it is what it is. There's a secret to this Gongla business. And I really hope the show, even though you got 2 Sentai teams to focus on, I don't want this to be a Zyuohger thing, where you have some interesting villains, but you don't really do anything with them. Because I have a feeling that that's where the show could possibly go. That when you're writing a show like this, where you got 2 Sentais sitting up here going back and forth with each other, and you got a group, and every monster of the week's goal is to be the one to defeat both Sentai teams to become the new boss. All of them will fail, and in the middle, it's like somebody gonna get knocked out and somebody gonna come in. Speaking of that, remember we talked about earlier, you know, about the Lupinrangers, how they lost people? Oh yeah, Iceberg Slim came back from the dead, came back as a monster, froze everybody and killed them. So this dude, who I'm for really calling Monster Iceberg Slim, he featured heavy in the opening. So this guy, whoever he is, this dude might be the equivalent of Buttstalk in this show. Because you don't sit up here, feature a character that gangster this early in the throwback to the Lupinranger's backstory, and you ain't got no plans for this guy. This dude, whoever he is a long haul villain. This dude is straight up a long haul villain, and it's going to be straight up interesting to see what they do with this guy, because those are my questions. Like, for real, like, my other questions, like Good Striker. You know what I'm saying? Like when Good Striker finally made its appearance or whatever, it's like, well, you know, when you use it on the gun like this, when the police do it, we fuse into one policeman and we shoot a big giant ass buster shot. So, you know, that's what it do. Also, this thing is also responsible for transforming each of the Zords into a Kaiser mode or something, according to Wikipedia, because I did read that far. You know what I'm saying? I kind of figured that if this episode was a because it's like, again, I have to sit up. I have to bring it back a little bit because there's something that I have to remember no matter what. As much as I enjoy this show, this is a vehicle for selling toys to children. So right now, before we can get to some real grimy story, we got 2 teams of Sentai we have to get over and also get over their toys on children so their mommies and daddies can go buy them because that's important right now. And that takes precedence over the story because this is still a business and, you know, you don't want the show to go out to business, so we got to sit up here and we got to sell these toys. I got to admit, yo, those dial fighters look mad dope. I gotta admit, the VS changes, that's kinda dope. I kind of appreciate that you can do multiple things with it. From what I've understood and what I heard of the toy, though, is that the toy doesn't work exactly as the gun does in the show. So that's kind of weird. So you can't do certain things, but I bet you somebody got one of them guns on one of them random Japanese YouTube channel and they done hacked it and they know every single Ranger. They got legacy modes or whatever, Shinron Perp legacy fighter or whatever, because, you know, that's just what they do. It's gonna be interesting to see, like, if they actually, if it's gonna be Thief, Police, and the Guardians of an Alternate Universe in a versus movie next year, because we talked about that at the end of Q Ranger, that the Space Squad boys coming back sequence. So it's gonna be interesting to see what's up with that. This was a great episode. Like, I enjoyed the whole episode. I enjoyed the chase sequence. Because, see, again, we just talked about it. It's like the show has to get over toys. So, you have an interesting scene where you sit up here and you get the opportunity really early on to really show off, like, what's up with these things. Because that's all it was. It was just a nice product placement for this toy that we're selling, for the show you just happen to be watching, and I'd be a fool to think otherwise. I'd be a fool to think otherwise. But like I said, the whole point of the episode, for real, was the show is trying to, right now, humanize the Lupinrangers to you. And it's done a wonderful job of that. Like, I was already down with y'all. Y'all swaggy as hell. You know what I'm saying? Y'all mad swag, sit up here wearing these masks and stuff. Yo, we transforming. We sitting up here on top of big men sitting up here just in a pose. Shake that body. I don't know what you want to do. But right now, again, the show is in multiple places trying to do multiple things for multiple reasons. And if we're going to summarize everything I said, let me remind you of what those things are. Number one, most importantly, because this is a show that is what it is, we're trying to get over these toys. And they did a wonderful job of sitting up here. Is that if I'm sitting up here and I'm a little kid like, yo, that look kind of dope. Yo, mind, get me one. The show did that. More importantly, for the plot thereof, we're humanizing the Lupinrangers so you care. We're giving the chance for the Patrangers to sit up here and act clowns and turn into Patranger and sit up here and shoot Mega Buster shots, because that's some nice way to bring down the melodrama that's over here while they over here listening to Linkin Park and Limp Bizkit and all this old moody music, because, yo, some dude named Monster Iceberg Slim murdered all your people and turned them into ice and they just exploded. The other thing, and I'm glad I remembered, I still got questions about Kogure. I still have questions about this guy. The way, again, and I'm just going to say this because I don't know this is what it is. The way that Overtime translates the lines, or Kogure is working for somebody. And like I said last week, if that is the case and that is the actual line as it's translated in a way that should make sense to English speakers and the way that this line is delivered, is you don't think that Arsène Lupin, great-great-great-great-grandson, ain't gonna be a ranger in this? Come on now. I wouldn't be surprised if he the next ranger up. But see, that's another question I have. Is how are they gonna do rangers for this? Because, let me see. You got a Sentai over here, and you got a Sentai over there, and you gotta try to keep the ends balanced somehow. So, I'm like, there's a lot that you could possibly do. And I think I said this last week. There's a lot you can possibly do. with two teams and having somebody who's a double agent and having that be the link. But because they sitting up here and they trying to push Kyrie and Keiichiro coming along, shaking hands, pounding it, being friends, and ultimately understanding the reason we're still in the Lupin collection is because, and it's down with your ideal that people that lost people or whatever. Because I don't really honestly think that the three police rangers have this magical backstory of, oh my God, my shit is so fucked up. I just don't think that's a thing. I just don't think that's a thing the show could try to pull and get away with it. Because again, it brings me back to, again, and I'm just surfing the wave of another question that I had last week. If this was Lupinranger, and it was just Lupinranger, and they were just a Sentai, and it was the Gondolas, that is a show that could possibly work. That's a show that could possibly work. But in that, you throw cops into the mix, it gives it a dynamic that ultimately makes sense as a global thing. Because again, like I said, Lupinranger just being Lupinranger could have been the 42nd Sentai, and we watch it and we probably love the hell out of it. Adding the Patrangers in the mix, it gives it a global dynamic because see, now you got three sides and everybody's at the same goal. You got the monsters, they want to be the king. You got the Lupinrangers want to steal the stuff back, and you got the police want to arrest people. It works in a way because it works because it is a dynamic that indeed works because of the straight through lines that these types of relationships can and ultimately will, when we're done, represent. Regardless of all that, this is a great episode, man. This show clowning right now. Like, yo, I'm loving the shoot 'em up. I'm loving the shoot 'em up shit. I love it. I love it. Just great stuff. Just great stuff. I'm like, simply put, I'm just gonna say this before we get up out of here. This is the second episode in a row that I've legitimately enjoyed. That. Again, let's just sit up here before we get a little history. I turned my full corner on Q-Ranger by episode 4 with Dreamy Android, which is my favorite episode of that series. I think I'm probably not going to see that breakout episode to probably before maybe episode 10. Not because of anything that the show is going to do, but the show is trying to build multiple dynamics. And you only have 20-something minutes to build these dynamics between these teams. And it's like right now, the focus is more on the Lupinrangers trying to be a Sentai versus the Patranger just being somebody that's just in the way of the thing we're doing. And I don't know if that's me, but that's how it looks right now. And I'm really hoping there's some more balance between that we got the Lupinrangers really legitimately fighting for something, the police trying to stop them, and the gauntlet that everybody trying to sit up and butt shots at. I hope that they bring up the balance and they dial back the Lupinrangers a little bit, bring up the police a little bit more, and try to get them more on an even scale of trying to tell a proper story. But we'll see. We'll see if the show does that, and I'm going to give the show every opportunity to do so. But yo, I'd like to thank you guys, man, for joining me for another installment of Triple the God Speaks On It. Yo, another episode of Lupinranger vs. Patranger in the books. And yo, whether you the thief and whether you the police, the one and the only, the Triple the G.O.D. is always going to bring you exactly what you need. And with that being said, and until next time, I'll holler at y'all, man. Peace out.